Everything we have talked about in this series has been building to this moment. We talked about the Anunnaki who built the human body. We talked about the source that placed the soul inside it. We talked about why God lives inside you and why he does not override your freedom even when you use it to hurt yourself and others. We talked about evil, about suppression, about the systems built to keep you from knowing what you truly are. And now you are asking the only question that actually matters after all of that. How? How do I access what is already inside me? Is it possible to stop running my life on my own broken programming and actually ask God to take over? And if the source truly lives inside every human being the way it lived inside Jesus Christ, can a human being today do what Jesus did? Heal. Know things that cannot be known through ordinary means. Move through life with the kind of power and peace and authority that he carried. These are not arrogant questions. These are the most honest questions a human being can ask, and I am going to answer all three of them completely, with full truth. No comfort that is not earned. No promise that is not real. But I am warning you, the answers are going to require something from you. Not money, not a ritual, not membership in any organization. Something far more costly than any of those things. Something that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Stay with me, because this is the one. You asked how to access the ultimate consciousness that lives inside you. And the first thing I need to tell you is this. You do not access it by going somewhere. You access it by stopping. Everything you have been conditioned to do in your search for God has been movement. Going to church, saying prayers, performing rituals, reading books, attending services, seeking teachers. All of these involve going outward, doing something, moving towards something external. And none of them, by themselves, take you to where the source actually lives. Because the source is not out there. It is in the direction that is the opposite of out there. It is in the one direction most human beings almost never go. Inward, still, silent, deep. Not the surface inward of thinking about yourself. Not the shallow inward of analyzing your feelings and rehearsing your memories. The inward that goes past all of that. Past thought, past emotion, past the noise of the conditioned mind. Past the identity you have built, past the story of who you have been told you are, all the way to the place where there is only awareness itself, where there is nothing left but the simple fact that you are conscious, that you exist, that there is something here that is aware. That place, that bare, wordless, thoughtless, deeply present awareness, that is the door, and what is on the other side of that door is the source itself. The practical method. What actually works. Let me be very specific because vague spiritual instructions have left too many people nowhere. The method is simple. It is not easy, but it is simple. You sit in a quiet place. You close your eyes. You let your body relax completely. Not forced, not performed. Just let it settle the way water settles when you stop stirring it. Then you turn your attention to the simple fact that you are aware. Not to what you are aware of. Not to the thoughts arising. Not to the feelings in your body. Not to the sounds around you. To the awareness itself, the fact that there is something here that is conscious, something that is watching, something that is present before any thought arises and remains present after every thought dissolves. When a thought comes, and thoughts will come, you do not fight it. You do not try to stop it. You simply notice it. You observe it the way you would observe a cloud passing across a sky. You let it pass, and you return your attention to the awareness that was watching the thought. Not to the thought, to the watcher. Stay there. Even for 5 minutes, even for 2 minutes in the beginning. Just stay with the awareness that is watching everything without being any particular thing. At first, nothing seems to happen. The mind is restless. Thoughts keep pulling you away. This is normal. This is the noise of the Anunnaki-built machine doing what it was designed to do. Generate mental activity to keep consciousness occupied at the surface level. Do not fight it. Just keep returning to the awareness beneath it. Over days, over weeks, over months of this practice, something begins to shift. The noise starts to thin, not because you forced it to, because you stopped feeding it with your attention. And in the gaps between the noise, something else begins to be felt. Something that has no name and needs none. Something that is vast and still and present and warm, in a way that warmth has nothing to do with temperature. Something that feels more like home than any physical place you have ever been. That is the beginning of genuine contact with the source within you. Now, I want to say something about prayer, because many people watching this already pray and will ask what the difference is between what I just described and prayer. Most prayer is talking. It is the person speaking to God, asking, requesting, petitioning, sometimes thanking. And there is genuine value in this. The act of directing your attention and your heart toward the source has real effect. But talking to God and actually experiencing God are two very different things. And most people spend all their time in prayer talking and none of their time listening. The deepest prayer is not words spoken toward God. It is silence directed at God. It is the conscious act of becoming still enough to feel what is already present. The mystics of every tradition understood this. The Sufi masters called it fana, the dissolving of the self into the divine presence. The Christian contemplatives called it contemplative prayer, the prayer that goes beyond words into direct presence. The Hindu tradition calls it samadhi, the state where the individual awareness and the universal awareness are experienced as one. Different words, same direction. Inward, still, deep, past the noise, into what has always been there. This is how you access the ultimate consciousness, not by a dramatic, supernatural experience that falls from the sky, by the quiet daily courage of going past your own noise until you find what is underneath it. You asked whether it is possible to ask God to take over, because our own ways are not good enough, because the self that runs our lives has made enough of a mess that we want something greater to step in and handle it. This question moved me when I heard it, because it is not a question coming from weakness. It is a question coming from the deepest honesty a human being can reach. The honesty that says, I have tried running this on my own. I have tried willpower and strategy and positive thinking and hard work and all the tools the world gave me. And it is not enough. Something in me knows there is a better way to live than the way I have been living. I want that. That honesty is the beginning of the most profound transformation available to a human life. And the answer is yes. It is not only possible to ask the source to take over, it is the single most powerful thing a human being can do. Every genuine spiritual tradition that has produced real transformation in real human lives has this at its center. Not positive thinking, not manifestation techniques, not rituals of power. Surrender. Complete. Honest. Total surrender of the small self to the infinite source within. But I need to tell you what real surrender is, because the word is misunderstood in ways that keep people from ever actually doing it. What surrender is not. Surrender is not passivity. It is not sitting down and doing nothing and waiting for God to handle your bills and your relationships and your health while you contribute nothing. That is not surrender. That is abdication. And the source does not reward abdication. Surrender is not giving up. It is not the gesture of a defeated person who has run out of options. Genuine spiritual surrender is the most active and courageous thing a human being can do, because it requires giving up the thing that human beings cling to more fiercely than anything else in their lives: control. The illusion that the small self, the ego, the conditioned mind, is capable of navigating life successfully on its own terms. Surrender is not blind obedience to a religion or a church or a person who claims to represent God. That is not surrender to the source. That is surrender to a human institution. And human institutions, as we have discussed extensively on this channel, have their own agendas that are not always aligned with your genuine spiritual liberation. What real surrender actually is. Real surrender is this. It is the moment a human being stops insisting that they know better than the infinite consciousness that lives inside them. It is the moment of saying, not with words but with the full weight of genuine intent, I release my grip on trying to control this. I stop fighting against what is. I stop insisting that life must look the way I have decided it should look. I open myself completely to the movement of the source through me. And I commit to following that movement wherever it leads, even when it leads somewhere my ego did not plan for. This is what Jesus demonstrated in the Garden of Gethsemane the night before his death. He said, "Not my will, but yours be done." He did not say this easily. The text says he sweated drops of blood. He was in genuine anguish. His human self did not want what was coming. But underneath that human self was a soul so aligned with the source that it could say, I trust what the infinite sees more than what my human fear sees. And I release my grip. That is surrender. The full release of the ego's claim to be in charge. Not once, not in a dramatic moment that you never have to repeat, but as a daily practice, a continuous returning. Because the ego does not surrender once and disappear forever. It comes back, it reasserts, it finds new ways to insist that it knows better. And the practice of surrender is the practice of noticing when that has happened and choosing again to release. Now here is what happens when genuine surrender occurs. And this is the part that people who have experienced it describe in almost identical terms across every culture and every tradition. When the small self genuinely releases its grip, something moves into that space, not from outside, from inside, from the depth that was always there and was always waiting for exactly this opening. The source does not barge in uninvited. It does not override your freedom. But the moment you genuinely create the space by releasing your own insistence on control, it moves, like water moving into a space that has been made available to receive it, like light filling a room the moment a door is opened. And what happens in that movement is extraordinary. Decisions that you agonized over for months become clear in an instant. Words come out of your mouth in a difficult situation that you did not consciously choose, but that are exactly right. A path through a problem that seemed completely blocked suddenly opens. You find yourself doing and saying and becoming things that the small, frightened self you were before would not have been capable of. Not because you became superhuman, because you became transparent. Because the intelligence of the infinite source began moving through you more freely than it could when you were using every ounce of your energy to insist on running things yourself. This is what people describe when they speak of being guided, of knowing in their bones what to do, of acting from a place deeper than thought. That experience is real. It is not imagination. It is what the source operating through a surrendered human life actually feels like from the inside. Can you do what Jesus did? The complete, honest answer. Now the third question. And I want to answer this with complete honesty because it is the question that religion has done the most damage around. Either by saying yes, anyone can do miracles if they just have enough faith, which sets people up for crushing disappointment. Or by saying no, Jesus was unique and special, and what he did was available only to him, which is a direct contradiction of what Jesus himself said. Jesus said these words, "I tell you the truth. Anyone who believes in me will do the same works I have done, and even greater works than these." This is recorded in John 14:12. He did not say some special people. He said anyone. He did not say after death in heaven. He said in this life. He did not say with the permission of a church. He said anyone who reaches the state of genuine belief, genuine alignment with the source, genuine transparency to the infinite. So the answer to your question is yes, with the full understanding of what yes means. What Jesus actually did and how he did it. Jesus healed people. He calmed storms. He fed thousands from almost nothing. He knew the inner state of strangers before they spoke. He raised the dead. He moved through physical reality in ways that defied the ordinary laws of the physical world. How did he do these things? Not through magic, not through a special power given only to him. Through the complete transparency of his human self to the source within him. Through the total alignment of his individual consciousness with the infinite consciousness. When Jesus looked at a sick person, he was not looking with the eyes of a limited human mind that saw disease and feared it and tried to overcome it through effort. He was looking with the eyes of the source itself, and the source does not see disease as permanent. The source sees only what is ultimately real, and what is ultimately real is wholeness, perfection, life. When the source looks through a human being at another human being and sees only the wholeness that is that person's true nature, something happens in the field between them. The reality of the sick person begins to align with what the source sees, rather than what the disease is doing. This is not wishful thinking. This is the most fundamental principle of how consciousness interacts with physical reality. The observer does not passively record what is there. The observer participates in what is there. We discussed this in our episode about quantum physics and the observer effect. When Jesus said to the paralyzed man, "Take up your bed and walk," he was not making a hopeful suggestion. He was speaking from the absolute certainty of a consciousness aligned with the source. A consciousness that had no doubt, no fear, no competing belief that maybe this would not work. Pure, clear, total alignment with the reality the source sees. And the physical world responded to that alignment. Why most people cannot do this yet? Now let me be honest with you about where most people are in relation to this, because pretending that anyone can instantly do what Jesus did by just deciding to would be a lie. And this channel does not deal in lies. Jesus was the product of a soul that had been developing, refining, and aligning with the source across an enormous span of experience. His state of consciousness in that lifetime was not an accident of birth. It was the result of a soul that had been moving toward total transparency to the source for a very long time. The life of Jesus that we know about was not the beginning of that soul's journey. It was the culmination of it. Most human beings today are earlier in that journey. Not lesser, not inferior, not excluded from the destination. Earlier. The soul that becomes fully transparent to the source the way Jesus was is a soul that has done the work, that has gone through the full range of human experience, that has chosen light over darkness enough times in enough circumstances that the habit of surrender becomes the dominant operating state rather than the rare exceptional moment. That journey is available to every human soul. The destination is the same for all of us. But the honest truth is that arriving at the level of consciousness that Jesus demonstrated is not a weekend project. It is the work of a soul across lifetimes. And the most important thing you can do in this lifetime is to move in that direction as genuinely and as consistently as you can. What you can actually do now. But here is what I also need to tell you. You do not have to be at the level of Jesus to begin experiencing real effects of the source operating through you. Every genuine act of surrender opens the channel a little further. Every genuine moment of accessing the stillness within creates a little more space for the source to move. And as that space grows, real things begin to happen that cannot be explained by the ordinary operation of the conditioned mind. People in your life begin to feel different around you. Your words begin to carry weight that surprises even you. Situations that should have gone one way somehow go another. You find yourself knowing things you have no ordinary reason to know. You find a calm in circumstances that should be overwhelming. You find a clarity in decisions that used to paralyze you. These are not miracles in the dramatic Hollywood sense. They are the natural results of a human life that has begun to allow the source to move through it more freely. And they grow. They deepen. They expand. The more consistently you practice going inward, the more consistently you practice surrender, the more the source moves through you. And the further that movement goes, the closer you come to what Jesus demonstrated. Not all at once, not overnight, but genuinely, really, in your actual life, not as a belief, as an experience. Jesus was not showing off. He was showing what is possible. He was the proof of what a human soul aligned with the source can do. He said, "I am the way." He was not saying, "Worship me and nothing else matters." He was saying, "This is the path. This is what the path looks like when it is fully walked. Now walk it." You asked 3 questions that take everything we have discussed in this series and make it real. How do you access God within? You stop going outward. You go inward past the noise of the conditioned mind, past thought, past emotion, past identity, to the bare awareness that is always present before any thought arises. You sit with that awareness, daily, consistently, not for dramatic experiences, just to be present with what has always been there. Over time, that presence becomes familiar, and familiar becomes home, and home becomes the place you operate from rather than the place you occasionally visit. Can you ask God to take over? Yes. And it is the bravest thing you can do. Not the surrender of weakness. The surrender of someone who has been honest enough to recognize that the ego running the show has done enough damage, and it is time to let something wiser have the wheel. That surrender does not make you passive. It makes you a vehicle for the most intelligent and most loving force in existence. And a life lived as that vehicle looks nothing like the anxious, effortful, struggling life that most people are living. Can you do what Jesus did? Yes. Not all at once. Not without the journey. But yes. Genuinely, yes. Jesus said so himself, and Jesus did not lie. The question is not whether it is possible. The question is whether you are willing to do what it actually takes to get there. The daily practice, the consistent surrender, the courage to go past your own noise every single day until the source beneath it becomes the ground you stand on, rather than the occasional thing you feel in good moments. The path is real. The destination is real. The power that Jesus demonstrated is real, and it belongs to the full potential of every human soul. You carry it right now, inside you, in the deepest layer of what you are. The same source, the same infinite consciousness, the same power that spoke through him is present in you in this moment. The only difference between you and the fullest expression of that power is the distance between where you are standing right now and the depth of your own soul. And that distance can be walked. Starting today. Starting with 5 minutes of silence. Starting with the single honest prayer that is not words but intention. The prayer that says, I release my grip. I open to what is greater than me. I am willing to be moved by something I cannot control. That willingness, that single moment of genuine opening, is the most powerful thing you have done all day. Share this with someone who is ready. Subscribe to Truth Frequency AI and keep coming back, because the deeper we go together, the more real this becomes. And we have not reached the bottom yet.